All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome to Duality 7X. Look, I don't know what's going on right now with YouTube, but my last few videos are under like 10 views. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think I've been shadow banned or something. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But if you guys support this channel, if you guys support this work, the thing that I would ask you guys to do to help us out would be to like this video, because the more likes that we get, YouTube will actually push this video out to the deep corners of cyberspace, and it'll give us the opportunity to kind of stay alive, as so to speak, because right now it feels like we're treading water. We're not really going anywhere. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if you guys know, but recently our channel got hacked, and we were out of commish for about maybe, I'd say about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and that totally kind of ruined our algorithm, as so to speak, or ruined our momentum. But needless to say, guys, I honestly, we can't do this work without your viewership, without your input too, into terms of in regards to the kind of things that we want to portray and showcase here and feature in terms of storylines when it comes to combat sports. So I'm greatly appreciative of all the comments that I receive, and the suggestions, the ideas, the different kinds of storylines you guys like to see. I try my best. So that said, please continue to support our channel. Smash a like and subscribe so you guys never miss a beat. And we'll continue to do this. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, it was a great social experiment and we tried, right? So anyhow, guys, I want to talk about something that's been kind of burning a hole through my pocket, as so to speak. It's about Jon Jones and Oleksandr Usyk. Now, two huge legends in their own right, as I mean, respectfully. I mean, Jon Jones, of course, former UFC world champion. Oleksandr Usyk, current active boxing champion. If you guys are not aware, Oleksandr Usyk recently decided to relinquish all of his belts, and he wants to have maybe one, maybe two more fights. I'm not sure exactly, but I'm going to lean more towards one more fight perhaps before he kind of gives it up and he hangs it up for good. Now, he's not in any kind of pressure to retire. He's not slowing down by any any I mean, look, if you guys watched the glory in Giza with this fight against Rico Verhaven, it was a great fight. It was very close. Rico Verhaven, there were moments there he did some serious damage, and then there was that huge controversy nearing the end of the fight where the referee stepped in and waved it off. That I think was a travesty, because the way it was looking like, Rico Verhaven could have upset Oleksandr Usyk and won the WBC world title. But that's a conversation for another day. I did cover it before, but I want to talk about Alexander's wish of fighting one more fight, potentially two more. And one of those names that keeps coming up, and it's not Deontay Wilder, because he's amazing and he's definitely a guy that Alexander wants to fight. But there's a lot of rumors, okay, that are circulating about him wanting to fight Jon Jones. Yes. So before retiring, these are the two names, Jon Jones and Deontay Wilder. But on paper, one is a boxing super fight. The other one is a huge crossover fight. Probably one of the biggest that we'll ever see if it comes to fruition. So here's the real question, right? The real question comes down to is this actually about finding Usyk's final opponent, or is this about creating perhaps maybe one of the biggest events, one of the biggest spectacles, right, before one of boxing's all-time greats potentially walks away for good, right? Perhaps, maybe that's the case. I don't know. I thought UFC Freedom 250 was a huge spectacle, amazing cards, but this, guys, this is going to rival all of that and more, because you've got two of the biggest legends in their sports respectfully coming together and fighting. This could completely change how we look at combat sports entirely, could look at how we look at crossover fights, and Jon Jones' career. I mean, both of these guys' careers, of course, right? Look, Oleksandr Usyk's advisor, Sergey Lapin, told Mike Coppinger of the Ring magazine that there are currently discussions underway for like a major title fight this year, right? And according to the report, Jon Jones is one option. Okay, I mean, there's also discussions potentially surrounding the WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder, um, former WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder. But when I think about these two names personally, nothing screams more than Usyk versus Jones. Like that would be wow. And if there were no more crossover fights after this, I'd be happy to see at least one more and that fight. And then you don't have to ever do crossover fights again. So, anyways, this is where I think things start to heat up personally, right? Because everyone immediately focuses on whether Jon Jones could actually compete against the likes of Oleksandr Usyk, right? Especially inside of a boxing ring. And that's not the first question that I'm particularly asking. The first question that I think a lot of people are asking is, would Jon Jones even take the fight? Now, we know that Jon Jones was a little salty for not being on the UFC Freedom 250 White House card. There was a lot of speculation leading up into that fight that since Alex Pereira had relinquished his light heavyweight title and was flirting with going up to heavyweight, that we thought, okay, yep, there we go. The pieces of the puzzle are starting to make sense now. Alex Pereira relinquishes his title. He gives it up. He vacates it so he can go up to heavyweight. Why? So he could fight Jon Jones in a super fight at the UFC Freedom 250, potentially headlining that event. With the co-main event being Justin Gaethje and Ilia Topuria. And then, of course, the co-main event potentially with maybe, who knows, whatever. But I mean, right now, this was the big one. But then I don't know, there was something about Jon Jones went online and he said that the UFC's in negotiations with them and things are working out great. Then all of a sudden it didn't work out. Dana White comes out, he announces the card, and it's Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane in the co-main event. And the main event was Ilia Topuria, Justin Gaethje, and nowhere on that card was Jon Jones. And Jon Jones was complaining about how he wasn't going to get paid enough, or the money wasn't working out to his satisfaction for him to fight Alex Pereira, so the UFC decided to go another way. I can't speak to the efficacy of that story. I don't know exactly what didn't transpire. I mean, these are backroom deals, negotiations that go on behind the scenes, not in front of any camera. So I don't know if any media is going to cover it. There's only speculation as to why this fight never happened or why Jon Jones wasn't on the card. But hey, look, there was a lot of other names not on the card as well. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was supposed to be on that card. He wasn't there. But I mean, to think that Jon Jones would have walked away from a seven-figure deal to fight Alex Pereira is kind of baffling. But I mean, if it's about money, right, then I'm pretty sure Jon Jones will be handsomely rewarded or remunerated should he take this fight against Oleksandr Usyk. This could very well be his biggest payday should he accept the terms of a potential fight with the former WBC heavyweight champion. Now, if the UFC is willing to make certain heavyweight fights happen, then a crossover event like this honestly suddenly becomes a lot more attractive, right? I mean, just think about it for a second. You got Jon Jones, who's already an accomplished, legendary former UFC world champion. I mean, there's nothing more he needs to accomplish in mixed martial arts. Of course, there's a lot of people who would love to see him return in some kind of a maybe an MMA or wrestling event against Daniel Cormier. That was his, kind of Daniel Cormier and Jon Jones have a lot of history together. But I mean, former light heavyweight champion, former heavyweight champion. I mean, two of these guys colliding, probably two of the biggest competitors in combat sports to have ever competed. I mean, at this stage in his career, we really have to think about, is this about legacy? Is this about just securing his financial path forward. I mean, there's a lot of who knows, right? I mean, it's all hearsay, it's all speculation at this point, right? But when you add in the money factor, and this is going to be big money, guys, there definitely unique opportunities that will oversee some of the bigger factors in this fight even actually happening. I don't know. I mean, I personally think that there's a part of me that thinks that this fight can go down. There's a part of me that thinks this fight can happen, but I'm just trying to understand the numbers. I'm trying to understand. I don't even think it's Oleksandr Usyk. I think he'd be down. I think it's more Jon Jones. Would Jon Jones actually agree to this? You have to understand when you have boxers and MMA fighters fight each other, it's not that easy. It definitely isn't. Look, Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather in a boxing fight. That you got to give props to Conor McGregor. That's not easy. That's not easy to do. When a fighter has to focus on one style of combat sports as opposed to like what they know they're known for, that's tough to do. Right? I mean, Rico Verhaven is a kickboxer, so he knows how to use his legs, but he boxed the whole way through with Oleksandr Usyk at the Glory of Giza in the pyramids of Egypt just a few months ago, a couple of months ago, and he did such an amazing performance to the point where you didn't even think he was a kickboxer because of how amazing of a boxing show he put on. Right? I mean, Conor McGregor is reportedly saying that apparently Terence Crawford turned down the $200 million fight to fight two fights, one MMA, one boxing against Conor McGregor. $200 million Terence Crawford turned down. So at some point, it's not about the money. These guys don't really care so much about them. I mean, yeah, you care about the money, but there's a lot of other things that kind of go into deciding whether or not this is the most suitable fight for you. Because you have to understand, you could get paid all the money in the world, more money than you've ever seen in your life. But if you fumble and you screw up, your legacy's on the line, right? So fighting a guy like Oleksandr Usyk would certainly qualify as unique, big payday, but it could destroy your legacy because if you get knocked out in the first round by an experienced boxer, right? Don't get me wrong, Jon Jones was at the elite when it comes to combat sports, when it comes to mixed martial arts. But how good is he in a 12-round boxing match against probably one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time in boxing, right? And look, I mean, Usyk would definitely be would probably be a big favorite in that. And he's probably arguably one of the most technically complete heavyweight boxers on the planet, which is why so many people have struggled to crack the code against Usyk, right? I mean, you're talking about, and then you got like, look, uh, I mean, Olympic gold medalist, undisputed champion, in two weight classes. I mean, he spent his entire boxing life, his entire professional career solving elite boxers and how to knock them off their perch one at a time. Jon Jones, again, arguably one of the greatest mixed martial arts fighters of all time. But fighting a guy like Oleksandr Usyk would pose a huge, huge challenge for him. It'd be a different challenge for sure, right? These are two entirely, completely different sports. We've seen a lot of elite MMA fighters cross over into boxing before, as I alluded to with Conor McGregor before, but there's other fighters who have done that, and history hasn't been as kind to them. I mean, Muhammad Ali was probably one of the first that I could remember fighting Inoki in a mixed martial arts fight, and Muhammad Ali got the victory, but he also was kind of carried away in a stretcher. He had to go to the hospital right away. He was in a lot of pain. He got beaten up pretty bad. So this isn't really about whether, Jon Jones can outbox Oleksandr Usyk. It's about whether the event itself may be too big to ignore, because from a business standpoint, every single promoter is going to want a piece of the pie. This would generate headlines around the world, probably become one of the biggest global spectacles on the planet. And boxing fans will tune in, MMA fans will tune in, WWE wrestling fans will tune in. Anyone who's got any kind of invested interest as a fan in the world of combat sports is going to tune in, and it instantly becomes one of the biggest fights in combat sports ever. I'm telling you guys, right? And so, like, look, Deontay Wilder, I have so much credit for this guy. He's a former world champion. That fight makes more sense. Um, but kind of been there, done that, right? I mean, and it's not that it's like we're talking about which event is going to be bigger, but it would be a better boxing fight. I mean, if Usyk wants to fight one more guy, I mean, he could go back to, Chisora. He could fight Ruiz. I mean, I don't know if Ruiz is as active, but, he could fight Francis Ngannou if you want to play that route. I mean, or fight Rico Verhaven in a part two in a rematch. I don't know, right? I mean, Usyk's already defeated the likes of Anthony Joshua twice. He beat Tyson Fury twice. Wilder would essentially complete that era. I mean, when people look back at his generation at, heavyweight boxing, these are the names they're going to remember: Joshua, Fury, Wilder, right? If Usyk beats all three of these guys, his resume becomes even stronger than it already is. Now, for Wilder has taken some pretty difficult losses. The Bronze Bomber has flirted with retirement a little bit. He's been knocked out twice by Tyson Fury. There's rumors about Tyson Fury, Wilder, part three. He lost to Joseph Parker. He was stopped by Zhilei Zhang. I mean, yeah, I mean, he's such a phenom. He's so incredibly talented, but he's had a few bad losses. And so I don't know, as much as exciting it is to watch Deontay Wilder, for me, I don't know if I'd be as hyped to see Usyk versus Wilder as opposed to Usyk fighting Jones potentially, right? So I don't know whether you think Wilder is still in his prime or not. I mean, that probably remains one of the, that definitely remains. I mean, it's definitely up for debate, but he is definitely one of the hardest punchers in the heavyweight division that we've seen in quite some time. Hence the reason why they call him the Bronze Bomber. But I mean, look, that's still a dangerous fight. So anything can happen. One overhand right hook, and that's it. It could seal the deal for Wilder, and it is what it is. But I don't know. Having a legitimate boxing match against Jon Jones, because clearly Usyk wouldn't be able to compete in an MMA, because he's not well-rounded in all the disciplines of mixed martial arts. But when it comes to boxing, that's something that Jon Jones can do. But can he do it, for more than 6 rounds? That's a question. I don't know. So I understand why both names are being discussed. I mean, one gives Usyk a chance at another elite heavyweight name to add to his legacy potentially, or end Jon Jones, right? The other creates an entertainment spectacle that obviously everyone's going to love and watch, probably unlike anything we've seen before. And I'm not even surprised anymore after seeing Freedom 250, the Glory in Giza, which the backdrop was beautiful. It was the pyramids of Egypt. I mean, that in itself can spark another debate, another conversation. But the question I think I have right now is, does Jon Jones actually want to does he actually want this fight? Would Jon Jones actually consider Oleksandr Usyk as his final chapter? And what would that look like, right? I mean, if he's truly done with the UFC, then maybe a massive crossover payday is a perfect way to close his chapter, to close his book, and then he can focus on his own private ventures. And he's an enterprising young man, so obviously he's involved in a lot of things. But even if there's even just a small part of him that wants to compete in MMA again, stepping into a boxing ring against Oleksandr Usyk is an enormous risk. It could hurt his legacy. I mean, it wouldn't erase his MMA legacy, but he would be remembered for all the wrong reasons, getting knocked out, potentially losing to a boxer, right? So I think Usyk, I'd like to see Usyk fight Jon Jones, but the reality of it is, I think Usyk versus Deontay Wilder would probably make most sense. and it'd be more competitive as well too. I mean, it would strengthen his legacy, and it would give boxing fans one last amazing fight that they wanted to see for years happen. Not sure why it took so long and why it's taking so long. Um, I mean, Usyk versus Dubois. I mean, Usyk beat Dubois twice, right? So who do you have left? I mean, unless you get Tyson Fury one last, hurrah at it, or maybe a Francis Ngannou, or maybe even a Rico Verhaven. I don't know. But I mean, look, it definitely gives us the opportunity to continue to talk about it, to debate about it for many, many, many months until this fight comes to fruition. But as exciting as Jon Jones versus Alexander Usyk sounds, I think that fight honestly is driven a lot more by curiosity, intrigue, and but rather than competitive balance, I think. I don't know. Would I watch it? 100% I would watch it. I would be all over it, guys. Would millions of people watch it? Yup, without question. But if I'm Usyk, I'm choosing the perfect final opponent before retirement to secure my legacy and to have my picture on the WBC belt, because that's the kind of stuff that fighters dream of, right? Anyways, in a perfect final opponent, if I were to guess 3 times, I'm gonna guess Wilder, Wilder, Wilder. That's that, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis, this breakdown. Not really a breakdown, just kind of more of a high level speculation. What do you think? But nonetheless, guys, if you enjoyed it, please smash a like and subscribe. And we try to cover some of the craziest, zaniest stories when it comes to the world of combat sports. I need to know how to move forward with this channel. With under 20 views in 3 videos is absolutely disheartening. I don't know what happened. Something just happened. Something is not clicking with the algorithm. I'm not sure. But if you guys don't like one or the other, I mean, I threw in some WWE. I don't know. Maybe it's messing up with the algorithm. I mean, this is a combat sports channel. I cover boxing, UFC, MMA, WWE, bare knuckle fighting, anything that has to do with combat sports. I cover it on this channel. But if YouTube doesn't like that, wants me to stick to one particular genre of combat sports, then rather than me deciding, I would rather have you decide. Maybe you can put it in the comments as to what you would prefer that you would like me to speak about. And that said, guys, I'd love to hear your comments on, do you think a fight between Usyk and Jones is warranted? Do you think it makes sense? Would you like to see that? Or do you think Usyk should just fight Deontay Wilder or some other boxer, maybe give Rico Verhaven a rematch, and then call it a quits? And then for Jones, he's got to really decide what he wants to do. He's getting older, guys. He's been retired for some time now. If he wants to fight, then we got to figure, like, maybe he comes to PFL or something and fights Francis Ngannou. I don't know. But anyways, guys, it could be one of the greatest generational heavyweight fights that we could potentially see. Chasing a spectacle like this is absolutely crazy, but it could tarnish your boxing history. I mean, there's so many nuances here. Anyways, guys, I thank you for giving me the platform to talk about this. I will definitely look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, but it's going to be great, guaranteed. Pleasure was all mine, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.